think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
James, you've been enjoying the Doctor Who?
Yeah, it's been good. I think it's okay. You know, I like what's going on.
Yeah.
I know I'm being catfished by David Tennant into a new season, but I think I have high hopes.
Oh, you mean? Well, I think he's going to guest appear later. In
Doesn't
like
matter.
probably the next season
really
finale or
relying
whatever.
on him.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I'm quite happy to see him go. That whole. Anyway, I'm mixed about it. Chris, I don't know if you probably haven't seen any of it. You're not a Doctor Who head, so sorry for this.
No, that's all right.
I thought the first one, the Meep, was an awesome reveal. I thought the sort of ideological moves that are making were pretty cringe from time to time. It's awesome to have someone get a bunch of money and yell trans rights. Like, that's cool. I've got no problem with that. But like, it was just sometimes pretty cringe.
Well, they didn't in that particular one too. They didn't. Poor Chris didn't even see this, but they didn't. It didn't like they had a narrative already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That didn't need additional dialogue about asking regarding pronouns. You know, that was already it was already a very good story that gave the feels.
Yeah.
Was scripted correctly, and then they were like, let's throw a couple lines in there to fuck it up. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it was good. It was like I was so happy to have the Doctor back. So putting aside how any other feeling, Doctor Who is back. Finally, after the Chibnall era, which was such a disappointment to me. And so many other fans too. And I liked the second one a lot. I thought that was, but I know I'm getting the impression that other people didn't like it so much. I'm the only one. Yeah.
Oh, the second one? Yeah, the second one, Kate liked it too.
Okay.
I didn't. I found it like a bit wonky. I like the idea of I like imposters, and all that, but I just felt like it was soft, like it was a TV episode.
Oh, well, that's what that's the thing.
I mean,
For
I guess
me, that's
the whole
the feature.
show is like that.
Yeah, it's a TV show, so I was like, good. It's finally like a TV show. But I know it didn't have the feel of a special. So like if that was,
that's what I did. I wanted the big energy, which I got.
Yeah.
In the third installment.
Yeah, you sure as shit did. That made no fucking sense.
Doesn't
but
matter.
I didn't really mind. Yeah, it was fun. They had who's the actor's name? James.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris, Chris. They had Neil Patrick Harris in the episode as the bad guy, and he gets to chew up scenery guy. And. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, right? Who'd have thought that Doogie Howser could be a bad guy?
Yeah, he was excellent. And he also, man, that guy glides into cheesy low budget like he was born for it.
Yeah, completely into it.
He was ready to fucking go. And it was excellent. He was the premier moments. I don't know.
Yeah.
In that episode too. So.
Yeah, also some strong bits, but then I was, as usual, I was like, what the fuck is this bi-generation thing? Like, what are we doing? Why?
I don't know. I feel like that's a bit disrespectful to the new Doctor.
That's true. Like, it is so weird. Like, one of the most beloved Doctors ever is going to just kind of stay in the sidelines for the audience to I don't know what I don't think that Russell T Davies is acting cynically in this. I think he's maybe blind to what he's done, or he doesn't, at this point, having been in television for so long, like he's hedging his bets like an old pro, but not really like thinking about it that way.
I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name. Can you throw me a hot dog down the hallway on the
Cutie Gatwa?
Cutie Gatwa. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Fantastic actor. He's gonna be a hot take in this new Doctor. And not only are we getting like I don't know, especially to just to go and do the trans stance and then stomp on the toes of the first Black Doctor. It was an odd choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like and especially like when with such a strong casting on Gata, I think you could have just let him fly, man. You can see it.
Yeah.
He's ready to go.
Yeah, and we will get that, and I don't think David Tennant will be around. Like, he's just going to be an ace that you can play later for the big event. Because why not? I mean, he's a fan.
They do that anyway.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Anyway, and I like that he's super gay. He's just going to be the gayest doctor that ever existed. That's going to be really rad.
Most of the doctors are fairly gay.
They are. See, this is the thing.
They're coded that way from the get.
Oh yeah, and like, it's no surprise that there was a significant portion of gay fan Doctor Who culture. It makes up a sizable contingent of Doctor Who fans prior to 2005. Same thing with the Doctor is a symbol of, for some individuals, like, someone who can transition between bodies but maintain their personality. Yeah, had a certain sort of cachet with individual, trans individuals. Who just also liked geek shit, right?
Fair enough. Yeah, perfect.
So all that stuff's just being activated in these moves that Davies is taking, and it's fine.
Funny too, because we started watching some old Eccleston ones. And they were they took they had a politicized stance in one of the episodes on consent, basically, like women's consent. They took a shot at that because he brought Rose into the TARDIS, and the TARDIS kind of coded her to be able to understand alien languages. And she's like, "That's invasive. You didn't ask my fucking permission."
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see, like, because how everybody's like, "Oh, why are they politicizing Doctor Who?" It's like, it's always been like that.
Yeah. Well, particularly,
it's always taken a stance. It's always taken the left stance also.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get us a bad review. Yeah.
No, there are some exceptions to what you're talking about, but you got to go back to the 1960s for that shit. But otherwise, he's a mercurial anarchist that goes around fighting fascists, and who is a little gay in his magic box. That's the character.
Yeah, he jumps out of his closet. Actually. Yeah.
I've never been a Doctor Who guy, but when you sell it to me that way, I'm like, that's kind of intriguing.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about it. And only when the show is able to actually do that character do I love it. But I love it so much in those moments that I give it permission to be shitty the rest of the time. Not that it needs my permission.
It's a real acquired taste. It has a group of people that are like, yeah, I like what's happening here.
Yeah. It's like Rambo fans, I would imagine, who are similarly probably strong opinions about the First Blood.
Yeah.
Here on the Extinction Agenda with James
and Chris.
Yeah, and we're talking. Yeah, we're gonna do. I promised long ago that we would do First Blood because I love Brian Dennehy, and
that's weird.
But
that was my hook. Yeah, I just love Brian Dennehy so much. I was like, I like the idea of him as the bad guy. Also, it had a guy. What's this? Go ahead.
I just gonna say, I think I only knew him as the dad from Tommy Boy.
Oh, Jesus. That'll give you an impression, huh?
That's yeah.
So yeah, Rambo, First Blood. Actually, it's not called Rambo back then, was it? It was just like First Blood.
Yeah, that's right.
So 1982, based on a book by David Merrill called First Blood, which has a slightly different story inside of it than the movie that we get. The book was a lot more. Basically, Rambo commits suicide at the end, if I remember correctly. Not that I read the book, but I looked into the differences between the two things.
Directed by Ted Kochev, but
yeah,
I'm not. I don't know if you familiar with his other work.
Well, you're talking about Weekend at Bernie's. He's the director of Weekend at Bernie's. Just kind of puts it into perspective. I don't know. Actually, the cultural impact of Ted Ketchuf is perhaps bigger than, like, honestly, we ought to envy what he's done for us as Western society. Also fun with Dick and Jane. I think he did some other things that I was like, huh.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, but he's an old timer. So I'd never seen Rambo before, First Blood.
I think that's intense because
Yeah.
I've seen many Rambo movies, and I'm generally a fan of the franchise because it's so violent and also just senseless almost, and I'm not sure that the political stance really makes any logical sense either, but it's just fucking fun.
Yeah. I don't feel that it's not fun. I just have never been drawn to, like, I haven't really, other than we watched Rambo Last Blood or whatever, and I've seen
it gets a bit rough out there.
Yeah. And I've seen enough of, like, snippets of Rambo 2 to say with confidence that I've seen it, but I've never purposefully sat down to watch it.
What'd you think? What's the first impression?
Of First Blood?
Yeah.
I liked it. I don't know if I'm going to like it for the same. Well, maybe I will like it for the same reasons, but I liked it because it just felt like a dream. The whole thing was so dreamy and disjointed. Shifting tones or feelings between, like, I really liked it, but I don't know if I like it for the reason that I'm supposed to like it. I like it because it feels more like a David Lynch movie than anything else.
I think that's right, because I think it's more artistic than following installments will become.
I have a theory. I might as well just lay it on the table now. Like, there was a cut of this movie that was 3 hours long originally.
What the fuck?
And Stallone watched it, and this, I just got this from Wikipedia, but he was just like, this is a career killer. Because by this time he's already done Rocky. So he rewrote and he rewrote scenes himself. He was heavily involved in, like, fixing it, and then he re-edited it. Or him and someone else did, and then cut it down to the time period that it's at. And that makes everything, to my mind, make more sense. Because he's just like, it's a hack job that gets squished together into a movie that happens to work extremely well. But I think I was picking up on the fact of its editing. And I think it's all for the better. I don't, like, a 3 hour movie would have been horrendous. With like a suicidal ending, and all that shit. Like, that's not what this movie needed. Yeah. This was a banger. This went by like a dream. Sorry, I already said it was, but it was fast.
Chris, what do you think?
I love this movie. Yeah, I must have seen it when I was a kid, but I missed large parts of, I just didn't remember it very well at all. But really enjoyed sitting with COVID and just, like, watching this in an afternoon, and just, a little hallucinatory, but fantastic.
That's probably the best way to watch this. Just don't have enough energy to do anything else.
Yeah. Still probably have, like, a fever dream in my nightmares.
Fever dreams within nightmares. Yeah. So I don't know. Where do we want to? Well, James, I mean, you're obviously a big fan. You would say
I've always been a fan. I've seen it many times, and I just think it's a fun ride. And I don't feel like it gets worse. I watch it again and I'm just as tickled.
Yeah, I believe that.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I think Dunhee is just a fuck. There's a scumbag cop. Like, where the fuck are they? Like, the fucking
Portland, I think, right?
They're in Oregon.
Around there. Yeah.
In the fucking mountains. There's no towns anywhere. And this cop's like, hey, prick show, you're wearing a fucking military jacket. We don't want you in this fucking town. Let me give you a fucking polite ride to the border where there's no fucking where for you to go or eat or do anything.
Yeah. Drive the bums out. That's the primary job of the police, right?
Okay, we're going there.
Yeah, no, I think that's like one of their oldest and
dearest
duties. Dearest, yeah. I don't know. I was trying to find the right word there. Yeah, but I think it is one of their oldest functions is to just run the so-called scum out of town, and
Well,
just.
he even says that when Stallone's like, why I haven't done anything? Why are you hassling me? He's like, oh, I get paid. This is a quiet town. I get paid to keep it that way.
Yeah, I get paid to do this, right? That's it. That's just like society has to function. People have to go work at the hardware store, the restaurant, the bank, and they don't want to see fucking people sleeping on the sidewalk or causing a fucking ruckus. That's it.
Yeah. So it's what really. So the movie opens up and he's like. It's like a TV show. It's like Littlest Hobo at first, and he's showing up at a house. He's kind of like he's Sylvester Stallone. He's all like happy, and he's
because
going
he thinks he's about to meet his old buddy, right?
Yeah. And then his buddy died of cancer. He didn't know, from Agent Orange. So we're automatically like
with a grotesque, really like that scene and interaction with, I guess, the wife. It is just like it's like a grotesque story told about how the Agent Orange fucking like basically gave him like a horrific stage 4 cancer and that he wasted away to nothing, and you're kind of left to like deal with that in your imagination because this guy was such a big fucking dude, and it's just that was kind of awful. Yeah. He skips her the picture of him and just sort of like wanders away like fucking digested to try to go get a fucking box of chips from the local restaurant, only to be met with Brian Denny.
Well, and this is the moment when, for me, the movie initially transforms into a dream sequence, or some sort of like hyperspace of deeper meaning somehow, because it's not, the town is called Hope, and just above the sign it's like Holiday Land, like there's something
to movie.
Say that again.
It's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas. Yeah, do you think it's a Christmas movie? Do we see Christmas trees and stuff?
I think at the very end there's a brief shot where they have a Christmas tree up in the office.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he enters into like a space where he's like looking for hope, and then the rest of the story is just about how like there is no hope, and like Brian Dennehy becomes this agent of anti-hope.
It's funny you say it's a dream sequence too, because I feel like there's a moment when he's dropped off at the other edge of town, and he's on a bridge, and there's a road, and there's just nothing. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go, and it's like he makes the decision to stay within this bad dream.
Yeah,
he makes the decision, and he knows the cop's gonna see him.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what's happening. He just doesn't decide to exit,
Yeah.
And the
other. Go ahead, please.
So just going towards the dream thing too, like that, the opening, like the tone of it, like the shots, like it's the music is gentle. He's taking this casual stroll. It's sunlit. It's very pastoral even. Like, and then all of a sudden it's shattered by Brian Denny, and like I love what you're saying about the like choosing to stay inside that bad dream.
Yeah, because like he could have just kept walking and none of this disaster would have happened. Like, and it's not like he chose Brian Denny to pressure him or whatever, but he did decide to face it. So yeah, there's a psychodrama going on throughout of this, like both figuratively and literally. But the other thing that made me feel the dreamy element of it. So I'm skipping a little bit of ahead, and for the first, 20 minutes until he's in jail, until he busts out of jail. So like 30 minutes in, 20 minutes in, whatever. All of a sudden, it's like suddenly it's an action movie in a way that it didn't feel like an action movie. Like it felt like, again, like Littlest Hobo or something like that. Or kind of like TV, and then all of a sudden it transforms into a movie where there's big action and motorbikes and chases, and it just, the tone shift is so sudden and absurd that I was just like, and then anytime the Colonel shows up, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He just comes in from another movie, just I'm here to interact with your movie. And
Did you
it's
see
Go ahead.
Did you see the drama of I was reading up a little bit about this, that Kirk Douglas was initially meant to play that role. And
There was a lot of weird people attached to this movie.
yeah, but Kirk Douglas like insisted that he kill Rambo at the end and like show up in a police car like holding his bandana, and they were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he just like got so mad and just quit the movie. So the guy that they found for the colonel, he was fed his lines. Like he showed up and like didn't know the script yet. He was just gamely filling in. So maybe that contributes to some of the weirdness there.
Yeah.
It's like hot. His lines are delivered with such fucking like bizarro, like a cartoon character. Like a proper G.I. Joe colonel is almost like how he delivers it.
So true.
Yeah. So suddenly G.I. Joe shows up in this movie about like a wounded Vietnam vet, and you're like, what the fuck? And then everything that happens as well, like when he's in the forest and suddenly he turns into Batman. Like that's very cool.
They torture him, but good too.
Oh, in the prison?
Yeah.
No, they're super dicks. And again, I like that. I don't like the depiction of cops in this, but like it feels so coppy, man. Like it's such a cop show.
This is perfect. This is exactly how cops are.
Yeah. And I was even shocked 1982. And the military is like, the police are already militarized at this point. They've got M16s or AR-15s, like rocket launch. Well, that's the National Guard, but like all of a sudden, helicopters and dogs and assault weapons, and then literal militarization later.
Well, then they have I like that they have like in their basement, they've got like fucking holding cells and like just flogging sticks, a fire hose just for fucking terrorizing bums and shit.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Just get them out of town.
This is a movie really about why you should de-escalate things instead of just like constantly ramping it up. But it's an interesting dynamic because like when you're the law, like you have to suppress a threat, but they're exactly the cause of him being a threat. Which it just felt really true to form, like in the way shit can get out of hand.
And like I do question one thing that helped me to maybe fill in some blanks for me is like in the book, the Brian Dennehy character, what's his fucking name? Teasel. He in the book he's upset about. One thing that he's upset about with Rambo is that like he's a Vietnam War vet, and the Vietnam War is like got such attention, and Teasel was from the Korean War, and everybody forgot about that fucking war, and they didn't care about it, and it didn't have like a cultural thing, and there's sort of like a weird army vet envy kind of motivating him as well. I don't know if that actually adds a whole lot to it, but I was like,
that's not really in the in the movie transcript, right? Yeah.
No, it's not.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And also sort of gives a bit like, I don't know, I feel like that would have helped me with cop clout, like because there's no reason that Brian Dennehy's surviving these interactions. He shouldn't be.
That's true.
Really.
Yeah.
If he's just like sort of a fat donut guy.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess just the fact that Rambo doesn't actually want to kill them is kind of trying to just make them see that he's a monster that shouldn't be fucked with. That line, that line when he's in the forest, and he's like, "I'll give you a war like you won't believe." That was awesome.
Yeah. Let it go. But the thing that like the difficulty is like I think in that moment because Brian Teasel he starts crying, like he was like that just survived a car crash relief that one gets. But by then it's too late. Like the apparatus has already been activated. A cop's dead. Like Teasel couldn't stop it if he wanted to. Because how could he conceivably have stopped it unless like to lie to everyone?
The only way he could have stopped it would be to say like we mobilized a helicopter and shot at a civilian, and a guy accidentally fell out of a helicopter and died, and it was my fault.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, you're right.
And there was no fucking way he was going down that road.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's really interesting, the Korean War thing. Like it adds some depth to the character, but I think I like it better if it's just sort of this mentality of authority that, we are in charge. We're gonna quarantine this. We're gonna control it because that's our job. And if you fight back, then we'll fight back harder. Like it felt so true to something, critical
just
about
like
policing.
police control. Like
Yeah, which like
or just
again,
like not being challenged or escalating to the point where they are victorious regardless of what it takes. Like basically.
And even if it's their fault. It's
yes,
just
and
like
the best part is that if it's their fault and someone dies or someone's injured, they have to double down.
Yeah.
That's they can't lose and they can't be held at fault, and that's the most important part of policing.
Yeah. And another thing that really impressed me about this movie is like the news reports. Like it's straight up propaganda. Like I don't know if I just wrote down 44 minutes news propaganda, but basically they're just telling the story that the police told. They're telling it to everyone, I don't know if I can. Yeah, I just the way that the media and information sphere, society in general, just falls into lockstep with whatever the narrative of policing is. And that's one of the reasons everybody gets so upset about the narrative being disrupted, is because it's such a fundamental element of our society's narrative, about law and order and about that sort of thing. And if you start pointing out that everybody's just like engaged in some sort of elaborate oppressive apparatus, they don't like that. Like it's disturbing to be part of something like that, Oh yeah, I found it here.
This car chase is excellent too, by the way, at the beginning. Very fucking Dukes of Hazzard. Like there's some fucking nut job driving that 1970s fucking cop car, like full bore down like open fields, down hills, through the mud, like just excellent work. I like practical car chases. They're fun.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing that that made it feel like suddenly it turned into a movie. Like that action scene just really pops because it's not a bad action scene. Actually, it's pretty up there with what you'd get in a major action movie. Like I think that this is of an era of action movies that's like it's, I was going to say like Die Hard, but even Die Hard isn't as subdued as this. There's it's mostly people sitting around talking, or hanging around in the woods or that kind of thing. Like there's not actually a lot of full bore action, but at the same time, it's definitely an action movie.
Well, when there is, it's severe too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very severe.
Sorry,
I can see this one setting the template though for things like Die Hard, because it is grounded. He's having a miserable time. Like that's like one of the key distinctions, is that like when he falls from that cliff and like hits every branch on that tree going down, like you can like his skin is getting torn. Like that's it just doesn't look like an enviable experience.
Yeah, I just watched him do that right now. Yeah, no, he's wearing that fucking tarp. He's exhausted. He's running. Like, he doesn't even know why he's running. Like, he's just immediately escaping, constantly on the run, or yeah, but which isn't like Die Hard, but it's the miserable time is the comparison though. Because Arnold never has a miserable time.
No,
like he has adversity, but he never has a miserable time. And I don't think Van Damme it's kind of, it's unique to this.
I don't know. I would argue he has kind of a miserable time in Total Recall. No, he has sex multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there's adversity. You know, it's not like it's easy for him, but he's not like fucking wearing a sack in the forest, jumping off of cliffs just to get away from, like, unarmed.
If you were Hauser, you'd feel cool. You know, that's the
Yeah.
difference.
I might feel cool if I was Stallone in this movie too, but he's so even keel early on anyway. He's kind of a gentle guy, but or though is he? I guess
his post-traumatic stress flashes are super fun. Also,
when he says that
the razor,
or just when he sees the bars originally, he just imagines like being in a some sort of hole, and they throw
he's
like
in a POW
shit
camp.
at him.
Like, he's being like dangled on a crucifix into fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then and fucking just like cut so that he get infected. That's actually tactics they used, which is great.
Oh, in like prisoners of war camp.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, good move. I'll remember that.
Yeah,
for our enemies.
Like, they because they wanted you to kind of die of awful sicknesses. They didn't really want you to just die.
Yeah. But he survives because he's John.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Story for another time.
Yeah. Let's see. I like this, and this movie's also very funny. Like when the National Guard, like outside that mine shaft, like all the police officers, and so Brian Dennehy's a hard ass, and so's the fucking madman with the rifle on the airplane.
Mustache job, yeah.
Yeah. Those guys are hard, but everyone else is just like goofy. I think that's another reason this feels like David Lynch, is because like authority figures exist, but they are not like they're part of like an absurd fraternity. It's less pronounced, obviously, in this movie, like the absurdity element, but it's still there. Like they're pathetic and frightened and not ready for actual war, even if they are militarized.
Yeah, I appreciated that Ginger Cop too is like, just a voice of like, let's not fuck with this guy. I feel like that, like, I could never be a cop because I would just, if somebody fucks up half my police station, I would just be, you know, win some, you lose some, let them go. They can't do that. But like at least the redheaded cop was like, you know, like, oh great, he's a Green Beret, just perfect.
Just fucking great. He's the Ripley and Bill Paxton all at once in this movie.
It's true. He is basically like, it's like you as an audience member are inserted into the police force. It's like a funny narrative perspective where you're like, guys, this isn't a fucking good idea, okay? You know, we wronged him, okay? Charges were ludicrous. Let's put this to bed.
Yeah.
No, fuck that.
And he almost got away, Rambo did, but he comes across that kid. You know, like I read it, I understood it that he was like sort of about to make his escape, but then he bumps into the kid, and he can't hurt the kid, he can't do anything, and you know, he just keeps coming in, even though he's supremely effective. Although early on he's on back foot, but the
once he gets into the woods, that's the thing. Like I feel like one interesting element of this film is that he's basically like almost terraforming America, like turning it into the jungle or turning it into Vietnam just by his presence there.
Yeah.
Even to the point where like there's this weird parallel where like he's using guerrilla tactics, and then the police and like the authorities are just kind of victory at any cost, which sort of mirrors the policy in Vietnam.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to bring this up maybe until later, but that's a good segue for some of the things that I was thinking. Like, don't jump to conclusions with what I say next, because like I don't want to say this about the movie. But so I was reading about the history of the white power movement and its relationship with Vietnam, and Vietnam veterans in particular. And one of the phrases, you know, like was like, bring the war home. as part of the paramilitary efforts. There was a lot of veterans, and they had a sort of World War II stabbed in the back theory or sentiment about the loss in Vietnam, and they would say like we weren't allowed to win, and Rambo says the same thing about the war. He was like they didn't let us win, like it. Again, I don't want to say this movie has anything whatsoever to do with white power. I just thought that was sort of disturbing parallels, and part of a larger sort of. I would have liked to have watched this movie with Deer Hunter or something like something else that kind of gets at how America thought about Vietnam, and the sort of stories that it told about Vietnam and how it did so through movies like this and like Deer Hunter, which I believe is about Vietnam. Actually, it's been a long time. It'd be hilarious if that was actually about the Korean War, but I think it's Vietnam. But still, though, I felt that this movie was, if you had the right ears, you could hear that it was saying something more about Vietnam in America than perhaps you would normally hear. But in '82, it was still probably very fresh.
Yeah, that's interesting. Although I think part of what white supremacy groups do is just find wherever there's any sort of resentment or festering sentiment and just kind of pick at it and twist it to its own ends.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Again, this movie, nothing to do with the white power movement. Like very clearly the case. I just think that there's a mythology of Vietnam that is very obviously contained within these movies, but also has something to do with the real lived experience of Vietnam. Like there's just maybe, there's just more of a complex relationship than I would have thought. But I don't know enough about either thing to really say anything more than that. I just thought I'd bring up those parallels.
Well, I was reading a little bit of an interview with the director, and he was saying just how like he really wanted to feature just the plight of the veteran. Obviously, it's about veterans and the attitude, but just that like the way he put it, the right thought that like the guys returning home were losers because they lost, and then the left just thought they were baby killers. So there's that whole people weren't welcome anywhere.
Yeah. You were, and Ennis talks about this as well. It's a common sort of, anybody who knows about how veterans were actually treated. It's in many cases, at least, anyway. And this movie, it does that, but also at the same time, it's a richer movie than I would ever would have thought that it was or could have been, because of the nature of what is produced later. Like my recollections of Rambo 2 and Rambo 3, and I didn't see anything past that until the last one, but like it becomes incredibly vapid and much more unintelligently propagandistic. If I remember correctly, this is something else, and almost a sort of anti-propaganda.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It is a weird choice to take this character and then be just kind of, I guess, just assume that the only way that he could be reintegrated is just like keep throwing him at the enemies of America.
I honestly, I would be very interesting to go straight into Rambo 2 and see what we're given.
I would love to do that.
I do.
Yeah, I'm totally into that. Let's do that very soon. I think that would be a worthwhile exercise. I might even be persuaded to do 2 and 3 and just make it a
through the original trilogy. I feel like is in a box.
Yeah,
like it had steam, it had box office, it was what people wanted, it had script writers, directors, budgets, and then whatever happens afterward is just Sylvester Stallone. No hate to Sylvester Stallone, he's a fabulous mind, but definitely his own produced bizarre extension past Rambo 3, I think.
Yeah.
There's a weird, there's an alternate reality where Stallone is one of the great filmmakers, I think. He really just bought into Hollywood.
Yeah, when his sensibilities are different, like I'm inclined to agree with you, but I don't know if he has to be one of the great ones, but he could have been one of the really good ones.
Yeah. I'm exaggerating for sure.
Yeah, no,
There's
but
a
you're right. There's
sentimentality to what he does, but
yeah, but there's a movie. But the thing is, like, this wasn't strictly speaking his movie. Like, he's kind of came into it and made it his own. And the source material is very good. Like, I don't. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I agree though. He appears to have excellent instincts,
yeah,
but he doesn't.
And weird,
Yeah.
like weirdly, like actually a smart guy, and just based on reputation, you wouldn't assume it, but he was working on this Poe script like before he got famous, and like was going to cast himself as Edgar Allan Poe, a biopic, and then just kind of realized that he wasn't the right guy for the part.
No,
but
he's not.
He finished it, showed it to
know.
Robert Downey Jr. and like Robert Downey was like, the script's actually really good. Like, I'd love to be part of it if it ever got made. So
Right.
yeah, I want that
Fascinating.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. Sorry, there was a thought that popped out at me from that, but then I lost it because I was just too weirded out.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think also, so this movie, like when they, I don't, and again, I don't know, but like, so when they discover that Rambo's a Green Beret, I think too that this is a moment like when they're talking about the Green Berets and how like I heard those guys are badasses. Like these are all like stupid cops. Like they have to be thinking about John Wayne, right? Like they have to be thinking about the John Wayne Green Berets, like the World War II depictions of what these guys were like, because they are not prepared for what this guy's actually like. The way that Batman or Rambo Batmans these guys.
Well, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of hunting imagery too. Like when they're going into the woods, they're talking about it. Like, didn't we go hunting in this place? Oh, like yeah, I got a buck here last week or something like that.
Yeah.
They're having a great time going out there.
Yeah, and they just don't believe that they're in that much danger. And to be fair, they shouldn't be afraid of that much danger because such a person as John Rambo does not exist. That's another thing that this movie, the dreamlike element of it, like they're dealing with the reality of state oppression, and all of a sudden they're in an action movie or even a horror movie in which they're the baddies, and it just erupts upon them. They're all I'm watching them walk through the forest, like they're terrified and they're jumping at their shadows.
I was watching David Caruso get like Dennehy shake him and show him the body. Look at what he fucking did,
Yeah.
Like, shit, like that to me was the level up moment also for the Dennehy character where you're like, this guy's a cut above the rest of these cops, but I'm not explained as to why. I agree with Chris on that too, where I'm happy with that. I don't need it. I don't need that exposition to know, right. Oh, he's also a badass military guy like that. I don't know that would have done this story any justice anyway, because the machine, like these oppressive their little white cowboy hats going into the woods and stuff, like it doesn't do add anything extra, I don't think. But
yeah, maybe it explains like his sort of the camaraderie that he shows. There's
loyalty, yeah,
like I knew that guy and like the enemy got him and we're gonna get the fucking enemy, like it kind of makes sense to that extent, but but still you don't need it, you really don't. Rambo
kills that dog too.
Oh, he really does. Yeah, and then he's smart. Because they're like, oh, he's got a gun, and then he's like, he's out of bullets, and like, how do you know? And he's like, because a gun didn't kill that dog. And he has a basic competence, but yeah, he doesn't. Oh man, I'm watching Rambo take these guys down in the forest right now. Like the way it's shot, like he really does blend into the environment. He does turn invisible even though you're looking at him. It's very well done. Bravo, Weekend at Bernie's guy. You nailed it. Yeah, and it's neat that he doesn't. Well, I don't know if it's neat, but he, Congressional Medal of Honor or whatever. Like they don't.
He's a goddamn war hero.
Yeah.
One of the other neat parts. This is like just like a little. This is a cheesy thing, but it's like like an old movie trope. Lightning storm, always bad for your protagonist. Storm comes, bad things happen. Every movie, all the time. Reverse in this case, storm is like they've activated their problem, you know?
No, that's funny. You in my notes, like when so the helicopter guy is the helicopter. There's a movie about the helicopter guy in this fucking movie. So he has a rock thrown at his helicopter, and then the police guy falls out, and he flies away. And they call him. They're trying to call him back. They're like, "Bring back the helicopter! Bring back the helicopter!" And the guy doesn't say like, "Oh, I made a rock hit my helicopter and dude fell out." And he's just like, he says, "No, I'm not coming back. There's a storm coming." And I like that better, particularly with what you're saying, James, because I had the same thought. I was like, they activated the storm. And yeah, it gives them like a primal godlike control over the environment. Like it becomes much more operatic as a consequence. And again, this just goes back to my idea that this is taking place on some sort of other realm. This is a place where different types of narrative interact. And do not reconcile. Or maybe actually they kind of do reconcile. In the way that Rambo doesn't die, I suppose, or
yeah. Going to that too, the that like rat tunnel at the end, like just this very hellish experience for no particular reason.
None, no reason.
But maybe that's like half of that 90 or the 3-hour movie like factored into those tunnels or something.
Yeah, it's possible, or he just spent more time in the tunnels. It was like that was terrifying. I love that when he gets to the end. Like he's very competent. He's getting his way. He's solving the problem, but he's frightened. But then when he finally gets to the exit, like there's a relief that comes over him, which is a really nice touch. Just a very simple touch that other people would not have given, because you would just continue with the escape, right? But it always feels as if there's actual stakes. Rambo doesn't always feel safe. He's not he's still a man.
Yeah. Well, the Colonel, there's that line where he's talking about Rambo's training, and like one of the things he says is he's trained to eat things that would make a billy goat puke.
Yeah, such a great line.
So he's out there. He's suffering.
Yeah. And but on the other hand, I'm like, you trained him for stuff like this, didn't you? Mm-hmm. No, you didn't. No one trains to get trapped in a mine shaft after like some National Guard guys throw it. I was just like, that's dumb. But again,
it's such a good instinct to take credit, though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally taught him that.
It does that does like flow well with this like bullshit narrative of militarized units in the U.S.
Exactly. Like the thought that you could train someone for this, if that's what you meant. Like the idea that you could create this super soldier essentially, and then that's what existed in Vietnam. Like there was guys like that out there. They could have stopped the war. Like
that's the best piece of American propaganda.
Yeah, but and what makes this movie the sort of anti-propaganda is that like this guy's fucking, even if he did exist, he's ruined.
He's nuts. Yeah,
and he's a danger to the state. But the state is a danger to him. They're not going to reconcile each other. It's not harmonious in any sense. Like we already talked about this, but yeah, the war is brought home.
It's not possible to reintegrate or not the way that the states run,
No, although like and this also shows a failure of because later of like the military itself, like even though the colonel shows a lot of care for Rambo, when Rambo's like, I went to brag, and I couldn't find you, and he's like, well, I've been polishing my ass lately. Like they didn't, and this gets what you were saying with the director and whatnot, like they didn't take care of him as a veteran. He's a Congressional Medal of Honor winner. Nobody gives a shit. Can't hold down a job. None of that matters whatsoever. And even when
that's right. He's best trained guy they had, went back to fucking Fort Bragg and then ended up kicking rocks down the side of a road.
Yeah. And so they send the colonel to clean up the mess that they know they've created. Like it's 9/11 all over again, guys. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he does terrorize that town at the end too.
Oh my goodness, does he ever? Like, it's almost needless at that. Yeah. Well, his techniques are good. Give me the 60. Like that's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
With the little Frank Castle.
Yeah. And nice
follow up to talking about Frank Castle too.
Well, that was another thing about this movie that and it was that all the Vietnam connection, the bring the war home connection, and the obviously Rambo being so fucking awesome, and a PST. No, I don't think the Punisher has PTSD. I think we talked about that already. But the I would have liked to have matched this with I already said Deer Hunter, but also like Death Wish or something, and really get a sense of the American psyche at a certain moment as represented in film. Because this is the stuff that, although it didn't give, because we're not going to get a Punisher series until 1984, and this is 82. This is all part of a moment.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if things like Rambo fed into, it would have to.
Into Punisher? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think for a moment you have Punisher without Rambo, and I don't think but nobody says that. Like in interview or anything, like none of the writers are consciously thinking of this. I don't think. I don't have interviews from them at the time because nobody gave a shit about the Punisher back then. He was just a Spider-Man villain. Anyway, yeah, I really like this. I was so happy to have watched this. I don't think I love it. But I'm really enamored with it. This goes up there in like the important 80s movies.
I think maybe like later on, a few years down the road, I think your second go around, when you're still charmed, that's when we'll talk again. But
yeah, I watched it twice in preparation for this, and wasn't bored in any way either time. So. Like I don't think it's going to take much to charm me on this one.
Not to reopen it, guys, but one thing I just wanted to touch on. That beautiful moment when the Colonel is confronting Rambo in the Last Stand, and he says, look at these guys, they're going to kill you, and he looks out and then he flashes to that Norman Rockwell that Santa sign, drink Coke.
Oh yeah, right.
For briefly. That was an awesome moment, and a really conscious moment too. Of what is America? How do you reintegrate? Drink Coke.
Yeah. Again, I get, right. We haven't talked about that fucking scene at the end.
Yeah.
That, when he's so quiet through the whole movie, and then when he finally gets activated, like Rambo, what really struck me about him is he was just so pathetic and dumb, the things he talked about, and obviously it was intense, and he's hurt and whatnot, but he's just like, I'm trying to keep a job, and I had all these friends, and my friends are dead, and there was this girl. He's just like a child.
He was just broken down, and it was awful. It was awful to watch. He was pathetic, but it was sad. To think that that's that those are the tools he's got, that's where his mind was at, Those are his worries. They're so small and singular, and it was even like you say, it was pathetic, but it was sad.
Yeah. And what really sold it for me is, as much as I think that Richard Crenna as Troutman is absolutely fucking absurd, his way of listening to Rambo and almost tearing up.
Yeah, his jaw starts to quiver.
Yeah, like that's such a good touch, because he's G.I. Joe. Like, even G.I. Joe is touched in this moment, and it's this moment of American military propaganda encountering the damages that it wreaks, and finding a moment of empathy in that space.
It's how you get a hug from a stern old army guy, like the disapproving army dad. You just got to have like your friends explode all over you and then have a meltdown about it. And you can get that sympathy.
Get that little hug, maybe get a blanket, cover yourself up. Yeah, that was that's the thing that makes this movie, like, I can't believe they made a sequel to this. I'm like, I really, really, truly do want to watch Rambo 2 with adult eyes now, like, having watched this, because like there's no sequel that is required of this movie. Like,
no, and it was like there's toy lines, and the character is beloved, and it's like so odd. Like, why? That's another thing. The rated R toy line from back then.
Yeah.
Weird choices just
abounded. Yeah. America's favorite PTSD victim, Rambo. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, not surprisingly, the author is not a big fan of the direction that the sequels went in.
Oh yeah, that's that's bad contract writing. That's someone like is selling like the rights to a character in perpetuity and then really regretting it afterwards. Because that's the Stallone has to own the movie rights in general, right? Because I don't think the other dude's involved at all and doesn't need to be.
You're blaming Stallone for Rambo too?
I'm gonna go out on a limb, because he's so I haven't looked it up, and I'll if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll say I'm wrong. But he's so involved in the movies like that he makes post Rocky. Like he's like a Sylvester, a Schwarzenegger guy, in that like they get their hands in the mud, as I understand it, and so he's got to be involved in the other Rambo ones. But I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong.
Hold on. I'm trying to confirm this.
Please do. If I'm completely fucking wrong, then yeah.
No, you're not completely wrong. But guess who co-wrote the screenplay of Rambo 2?
Mr. Stallone?
Well, him and our old friend James Cameron.
No. What? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No
that's
kidding.
One of his projects too.
Oh wow, things are coming together. All right. That's a banger. All right. Now I'm super interested. I love James Cameron. He's such a dolt. It's gonna be really good to talk about that. Let's see. Rambo 2. He's had Stallone's had a fucking career. 85. First Blood Part 2. I think that's another thing that weirded me out when I was a kid. I was like, well, I don't understand this title.
Yeah, I agree.
First Blood Part 2. I was like, wait, do I have to see Part 1? I suspect the answer is no. Yeah. Well, it says David Morrell's. Anyway, no, Sylvester Stallone's writing, I think, on Rambo. Anyway, we don't need to talk about this right now. I suspect, though, that that Stallone has everything to do with Rambo. Always.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I would, because
he's a co-writer on all of these.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. Yeah. So fucking interesting. Thanks, James, for wanting to tackle this one, and sorry for kind of putting it off for so long, because I don't think I knew what I was missing.
Yeah, no, you can't have known what you were missing. It's like I don't, and like I oversell dumb stuff from the 80s too. So it's easy to just be like, "Oh, no, what's he talking about?" But this was weird. This was weird comparatively to other 80s action movies, and it's worth a go. I hold it above Die Hard.
Oh wow, that's an interesting.
That's shocking.
Yeah, who are we to say that you're wrong though, right? Like,
that's gonna be
I
don't know. I feel like you have to go in front of a panel to fight that fight. But
yeah. I think that maybe this is a tournament.
Wow.
At some point that we're gonna have to. What's the categories though? Because like, what did I like? Action movies that have a lot of talking in the 80s. Or like off.
And I think the confusing part too, or the hard part, is that Rambo gets okay, you know what? I haven't seen Rambo 2 and 3 since I was a child, so I can't say that they get progressively worse. I don't know that.
Yeah, we might be fucking over the moon with Rambo 2, but how lower probability for Rambo 3. I gotta be.
Yeah, but I mean, like Die Hard has a strong franchise that I know increases in quality.
Oh, why do you say such things?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You feel that way? Oh, okay.
Not exactly. Well, you mean like Die Hard 2? Like that?
Yeah.
That's a. Oh man, that's had some moment. Okay, here's the tournament then. Rambo. And its ancillary products versus Die Hard and its ancillary products. I think we've got to fight. I think that's a funny story.
I think 1 through 3 on each franchise is fair and very Christmassy.
Oh yeah, I mean we're not going to do it before Christmas, unfortunately.
No.
We need some planning for that, but that'd been awesome. Anyway, perhaps another Christmas time. Yeah, I guess speaking of which, I mean, I'll try to throw this baby up tomorrow, but upcoming, we're gonna have our usual Christmas awfulness fest, and that's gonna be good. And I guess next time we talk, we're gonna talk some Peter Milligan finally, get into whatever Pete's been up to lately. I think that there was a time long ago when I would try to like announce what we would do next, and it always brought down the wrath of the gods. And we would never, we would get jinxed. So hopefully I didn't just do that now, but
I don't think so.
Well, that's what they always say before the wrath comes. Yeah. Out of 5. What 5 out of 5? Where 5 is the best and 1 is the worst. Rambo. What's your stars? How many stars? No halves allowed.
Oh. Am I going first?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna say 4.
That's a 4-star.
Yeah. 4 is what I'd say too.
Yeah, I could never give this movie a 3, but I can't give it a 5 either.
No.
Yeah, so it's got to be a 4. So fantastic. That's good. We do that game here at the house a lot, just to kind of like really solidify what we thought of something, and like really like face it to ourselves. And you'd be surprised how many movies, sometimes you got to give them a 2 because you could never give them a 3. It always
That's
feels
fair. Yeah. I go off Kate usually if she looks at it up from whatever she's doing and has any interest at all.
Right.
Especially in the vein of Rambo, I'm surprised. Yeah. So I know it had to be okay.
Yeah. That's a classic. The
wife benchmark.
Yeah, the wife benchmark. Do you have any benchmarks, Chris?
I think that's good. Julia's all in on this one. She loves Rambo, so.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
Well, yeah. She'd seen it before.
Oh yeah, she's seen it many times.
Oh, really?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, all right. So there we go. Passes the wife benchmark. Clear 4 out of 5. Get it.
Nothing else.
Get it today.
Somewhere in this rugged mountain countryside, possibly above the snow line, shrouded in mist, the fugitive John Rambo is hiding. Units of the state police, along with local members of the National Guard, are now being mobilized. What still remains unexplained by local authorities is just how and where the former Green Beret came into possession of the weapons with which he allegedly killed one deputy sheriff and tried to kill 6 others. Only their skilled training and police enforcement techniques saved their lives. And word now is that the fugitive will be in custody in a matter of hours.